Hello everyone and welcome. In this video we're going to be adding an Omniauth solution so we can sign in with Github and with Google. So first of all we're going to add the Google one, and essentially you just sign in and then you can get your profile photo and you can go to your profile and it says your email, you're signed in with Google and you joined on this date. So we're going to be using a few gems to do this, and I have the notes in the description, so if you want to follow along in the notes then you can do that too. So the first thing that we're going to do is navigate to the Google console and we're going to create our client's ID. So we're going to create some API access points. So let's go and create a new project. If I click on this and then create a new project, I'm going to call it YouTube Omniauth. And then I'm going to say create, and it says invalid characters. So I'm just going to say YouTube Omniauth like that. It's going to create, and once it's created, I'll get back to you. So now I'm going to click select project. And once I'm here, I'm going to go to the navigation, go to API and services, and then inside of here, I'm going to go to credentials. What we're going to do is click on configure consent screen, and then we're going to add some data here. So we're going to say get started, and then we first need to add our app name. I'm going to say YouTube Omniauth, the user support email, that's me, next. Make sure to say external actually, then say next, then the contact information, that doesn't matter, and finally finish and create. And we need to go to the OAuth consent screen, and then we need to go to clients, and then inside of here we're going to click create client, and then we just need to add our web app application type, and then inside of here we need to add our authorized redirect URLs. And so inside of here where it says authorized redirect URLs, this is really important. We need to add https://localhost 3000/users/auth/OAuth or Google OAuth 2/callback. This is extremely important. So then we click create, and it's going to give us our client ID, and it's also going to give us our client secret. So these are really, really important, and if you lose them, then you're going to have to go through a long process to get them back. Well, it's not going to take that long, but it is going to be slightly annoying, so keep them safe. As you can see, download this client secret once you close this dialog. So I'm going to download the JSON just so I have it, and now that we have that, that's good. We can move on to the next step. So now that we've done that, I'm going to close the Google thing, and we're going to go, and so the first thing that we're going to do is actually just create a new project. So I'm going to go to YouTube and create a new Rails, new Omniauth, and then that's it. So I'm going to cd into Omniauth, and then what we're going to do is run bundle add devise, because obviously we're going to be doing this using Devise, and then I'm going to open it up in Visual Studio Code. And then we're going to run clear, and we're going to run Rails g devise install, just to install Devise into our application, and then we're going to run Rails g devise user, because we need a user model so that we can actually sign in. Now that we've done that, we're going to run this command, which is Rails generate migration add Omniauth users, and then we're going to have a provider, which is string, a UID, unique ID, which is string, an avatar URL, which is string, and a name, which is string. This is so that we can add the profile picture image and also the name of the user, and then we're going to run Rails db migrate. So we just need to add these fields to the user model, because the Devise user model doesn't come with these fields, and these fields are necessary for Omniauth. So hit enter on that command, then that's going to migrate to the database as well. Then what we're going to do is add 4 gems to our gem file. So go back to Visual Studio Code and go to the gem file, and we can just go in here and we can add our 4 gems. So the gems that we're adding are gem Omniauth Google, gem Omniauth GitHub, gem Omniauth, and then gem Omniauth Rails CSRF protection, which I found it's best to have it at 1.0, because that's what works best with the Omniauth gem, because the Omniauth gem works best with this version. Okay, so now that we've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our terminal, we're going to run clear, and then we're going to run a command that is going to open up our credentials. So as you can see, if I just find the command, here it is, editor is equal to code wait bin/rails credentials edit. So we're going to run this command, and then we're going to add the client and secret ID, secret key that we got from Google just 5 minutes ago. So we're going to run open, and then inside of here we're going to run, or we're going to say Google Google client ID, and then we can add that, and then Google secret ID, and then we can add that. And then now you need to go to the JSON file that we downloaded earlier, and then actually add the real values. So open up the JSON file, And then as you can see at the start, we have our client ID. Add that first by copying and pasting it. So just add that client ID, Google client ID, and then go back to the JSON file. And then at the end, there is the Google client secret. So you only get one Google client secret, and then you need to add that the same way we just did with the other thing. So Google secret ID is what I said. And then once you're done this, we can just exit the file, click save. Then if we go back to the terminal, and as you can see, it said file encrypted and saved. And just to be sure, we can go back to the file and make sure that it is actually saved. So as you can see, the details that we just added are there. So now that we've done that, we have our Google stuff in there, and we need to go to devise.rb. So for the Google Omniauth, we need to say config.omniauth, and then we need to say Google OAuth 2, and then we need to, I'll just do that. We need to say rails.application.credentials.dig, and the first thing we need to do is say the Google client ID. So the Google underscore client ID, that's the first one. Then the second value that we need to dig is going to be called the Google client secret. Google, actually I just don't even remember the name, so I'm just going to go back and check the name to make sure that it is Google client secret. I don't think it is. It's the Google secret ID. So instead of saying secret ID in this file, I'm just going to say Google client secret. Then I'm going to just save the file, and then as you can see, that's it. So that now that that's done, we have our credentials in our Devise file. These credentials are extremely important, so do not lose them and do not give anybody else access to them, as that can fuck up your app. So now that we've done that, what we're going to do is generate a controller. We're going to run the command rails generate controller user / Omniauth callbacks. Let's hit enter on that command. And because we just generated a Devise controller, what we actually need to do is make sure that Devise uses it. So we have to implicitly imply a root in the roots file. So go to roots.rb, and then inside of here we need to add this line of code which says we actually want to use the Omniauth callbacks controller for the Omniauth callbacks. So we're going to be using the user / Omniauth callbacks controller for Omniauth callbacks. Then what we're going to do is actually go to that controller itself. So inside of here, I'm just going to paste it in. As you can see, we're adding the providers at the top, and then we have this def Google OAuth 2 with the handle auth method. This handle auth method calls this method down here with the Google OAuth 2 variable and the provider here. Get the user from the Omniauth with the auth data, but if the user did not persist or if something went wrong, we're just going to redirect them to the registration page again. Now we just need to go to user.rb, and then inside of user.rb we need to add code that will actually add this data into the user model itself. So go to models user.rb, and inside of here we need to make it omniauthable. So we're just going to copy and paste in that code, and then as you can see, I added omniauthable and then the Omniauth providers themselves. So we added Google OAuth 2 and Github, and then inside of here we just have one method where we say def self.from Omniauth, which is called when the user signs in via Omniauth. Then we find the user via the Omniauth provider and the UID, which is the unique ID. And then if the user is not found, we try to find by email. But if the user is found by email but no provider ID, then we update them and we give them a user a UID. And then otherwise we create a new user where we add all of this information. So we're going to add the email from the Omniauth, we're going to add the password from the Omniauth, we're going to add the avatar URL from the Omniauth, we're going to add the name from the Omniauth, we're going to add the provider, and we're going to add the UID, and all of this we just get from the Omniauth. So it's pretty simple stuff. In the callbacks controller, we essentially say get the data, and then in the model controller we actually set the data to the model itself, to the current record. So now that we've done that, let's go and test our application. But before we do that, we need to actually create some pages. So we're going to say Rails G controller, and we're going to say pages, and we're going to have a home page, and we might have a profile page as well. Then we're just going to run Rails S, and then we're going to go to our roots, and inside of our roots we're just going to add a root to pages / home, pages #home, and then we're going to go to our application, and then inside of here what we need to do is actually add a button to sign in with Google. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to copy the button from the notes like I've been copying everything else, and you can find these notes for free in the description. I just created this file like, I don't know, 20 minutes ago, and it should be working very well. So I like creating files like this. So then let's go back to VS Code, and then inside of pages home, what we're going to do is actually add this file. So go to pages home, and then inside of here we're going to add this, or this line of code, and this is going to add our nice button. And we don't have Tailwind installed, so that's why it looks like that, but we're not going to worry about the styles. This video isn't about styling. So we're going to click this button, and as you can see, it says access blocked. This app request is invalid. And so I just realized the reason we were getting that invalid request error was because we didn't actually have the gems installed. So I just ran bundle install, and then I noticed it's working. So I just run bundle install, and then it's going to actually start to work. So now when we go and sign in with Google, as you can see, it's going to bring us to this page, and then we can sign in, and then we're going to click continue. And as you can see, we're brought back to the app, and if we go to the terminal, as you can see, we are signed in indeed. And now we're going to add a final piece of code that's going to actually allow us to go and see the user's information. So we're going to go, and all we're going to do is go back to the Omniauth app, and then inside of home, we're going to add a quick little image tag, and this is going to be called the image tag to the current URL .avatarul.presence. And if not, we're just going to add this, and then if not, it's going to be called profile. So let's see if this works. And as you can see, it shows the profile. So guys, that is the Omniauth with Google. Now I'm going to show you how to do it for GitHub. So for GitHub, it's going to be quite a similar process. We already added the gems, and we already added a lot of the code, so it's really going to be easy. So we just need to go to github.com, and then inside of GitHub, we need to go to the settings, and then inside of here we need to go to the bottom, and we need to go to developer settings, and then inside of here we need to go to OAuth apps. We're going to create a new OAuth app, and inside of here we're just going to say YouTube Omniauth, and then we can just say localhost 3000, or sorry, we need to say HTTP, or let's just copy it, and there we go. So that's the homepage URL. And then the authorization callback URL. That is going to be pretty much the same as the Google one, but instead of Google, we're just going to add GitHub. So pretty easy. And then we're just going to register the application. So now that we've done that, we have our client ID, so that's good. And now we're just going to generate a new secret. So now that we have our client ID and our new secret, what we're going to do is we are going to go to devise.rb. So go to devise.rb, and inside of here, we're just going to copy this Google line, and then inside of here we're just going to add this data. So we're not going to use the rails.application.credentials.dig for this one because I already showed you how to do it, so that would just kind of be a waste of time on my end. So I'm going to just add the data directly in there. Now if you're pushing to GitHub, don't do that. I'm going to delete this application directly after this video so that these secrets are not leaked onto the internet. But if you're making an actual app, make sure to use rails.application.credentials.dig so nobody sees this information. At the end of this, we need to say scope user public repo, and then inside of here we just need to say GitHub. So now that we've done that, that's good. And now what we need to do is so now I can close the GitHub window, and then we're going to add a button to sign in with GitHub, because why not? So we're going to go to the pages home page, and we're going to add a button to sign in with GitHub. And then what we're going to do is go to the application. As you can see, we see the button here, and we see a not found authentication path through. That's because we need to restart the server. So I'm going to go ahead and restart the server, and while I'm there, I'm actually going to drop the database, because I think I'm using the same email on GitHub as I'm using on my Gmail, so it's not really going to work, because in the controller we made it so that you can only sign up with one Omniauth. So if I try to sign up with the GitHub and I already was on the Google one, it's not going to let me in. So just to demonstrate that, actually, we can just start the server, and I'll try and sign up with GitHub. And as you can see, it's going to show me here. I'm going to authorize. Okay, so it actually created a new account because I'm using a different email on GitHub. I'm using this malascarian@gmail.com, and the other one I was using Pova Business, so never mind. So guys, that's the Omniauth with Google and with GitHub. If you enjoyed this video, please click like. It took me a while to make, and hit subscribe as well for future tutorials. I'm going to be uploading a lot on this channel with 2 videos a day, so thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.